Well, we're on to week 6 of the high school football season, and our Football Frenzy Game of the Week is one of the most anticipated matchups of the whole season. The NUIC will take center stage as a battle of unbeaten teams square off, with the Lena-Winslow Panthers hosting the DuPec Rivermen. And DuPec has struggled against the NUIC power over the years, but this season could be different with their playmaker at quarterback. Cooper Hoffman has taken his game to the next level in his senior year, making huge plays, both throwing and running the ball. And we'll see if that could be the difference as DuPec hits the road to Lena this Friday night.